This is TWiT.
Google Stadia, apparently, I mean, you know, this launched, what was it, like 5 months ago, was the soft launch or the launch to the Founders Edition. People who paid extra to get the Founders Edition and to be involved in an early stage. We're 5 months beyond the launch, and I don't know, it's pretty quiet on the Stadia front, I feel like. We expected that there was going to be some sort of a free tier that Google has touted. That hasn't happened yet, not necessarily, not for anyone anyways. I think if you were the founder and your 3-month pro subscription ran out, you can opt to move that over to the free tier, which limits your resolution to 1080p, so it has some drawbacks, but still, it's a free monthly service at that point.
Yeah.
But that's not available to everyone. Not yet. And apparently indie developers are not satisfied with what they're seeing out of Stadia. They're saying, hey, you know, Google has this new platform, and as indie developers, we don't have unlimited resources, so we need to know that there's something there for us if we spend our resources and our, you know, development costs.
Show me the money
to create this. And how do companies, you know, incentivize that? Well, they, you know, especially if it's a new platform, they would offer monetary incentives so that they'd actually create these games for their platform. Indie developers say that's not happening with Google. They're just not offering that much, not enough to make it worth it. And they're also worried, by and large, about the fact that Google has a hard time committing to things. And we see it time and time again. They'll create something. They're super excited about something.
I don't believe you.
And then a couple of years later...
What examples do you have for this? I don't believe any.
You've never heard of this before.
No.
I'm sure if you went to killedbygoogle.com,
still use Allo.
Yeah, exactly. Allo is a great example.
I'm going to go on Google Plus and give you hell for that.
I got Google Reader installed still.
Exactly. There's 3 great examples for you. So, so I don't know. Like, I think in the gaming world, you know, even people who are really dialed into video games and really get excited normally about this sort of stuff, there's a lot of passivity around Stadia and what it offers. And I think a lot of founders have let their subscriptions lapse. Like, they've decided not to pay for the premium version going forward. That spells a big, I don't know. That's potentially not very good for Google.
Was founders. He did the founders thing. I wonder if he let his lapse.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wonder if I had the wrong idea about Stadia, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought this was supposed to be a way of making online gaming a little more mainstream versus what.
Yeah, I thought it was for casual people too.
You know, but yet it doesn't seem like any of this is working out, because you got to have the infrastructure and connectivity to get the games, and then you're going to be paying just as much money for the gaming content. And then the gaming content isn't necessarily up to snuff. Even casual gamers want to play a nice game and not a average game.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the games that are on the platform are games that have been available on other platforms for however long. So the exclusivity is very very minimal on the platform. I think they have a couple of exclusive titles, but they're, from what I've seen, it's nothing that you look at and you're like, oh, that's the killer.
Yeah.
You know, that's the game. That's the one that's going to bring people over. I think there's definitely a certain quality to Stadia that they hoped that, being that there's this free tier, and it's essentially, it's a console that doesn't require a console because it's just online, that would appeal to, let's say, new gamers or gamers who weren't already all in on one console or platform or another. But again, like, we're 5 months in, and that free tier doesn't really exist for anyone yet. And we were talking about this a little bit last night on All About Android. I think the big risk that Google runs on something like this is, when it was launched and, you know, announced and then ultimately launched with the Founders Edition, there was a lot of attention being paid to it as far as, like, could this be the future of gaming? Had a lot of potential, let's say. But now we're kind of like, now it's starting to kind of get really quiet around Stadia. You don't hear a lot of people talking about it. There's just not of attention being paid to it. It's like they're missing out on that prime time that they could have capitalized off of the fact that, here, we have something new, everybody can use it, and jump on while you're still thinking about it, because now people are stopping.
I saw Stadia as something that someone like me could potentially try it, because I'm not a big gamer, but every now and then it would be fun to just sort of goof off and play something, and it seemed like it would have been accessible. But
are you accusing Karsten of goofing off all the time?
Well,
That would be an accurate summation of what I do here. So.
but even
It's true.
Even when we had it here and you were testing it out for was it Hands on Tech, right? It didn't really perform well, and I'm thinking if it didn't perform well here on this network, I don't want to take a chance on my crappy home network.
Yeah.
You know. But then I also
That
started
was
to
also
think
early.
about
That was very early, you know, and
You're right.
they've made changes
Right.
To improve that.
But then I also started to think about that. Is it Play Pass on Android? I bought that, and it just did nothing for me, so I let it go too. Is this?
And do you have a crappy home network?
I think I have crappy upload, crappy download is okay, but crappy upload is just
So there's no fiber to the home stuff there?
No.
not
No?
even close.
Oh, I'm so
If you're-
sorry for
If
you.
you're living in West Petaluma, you have a lot more access to fiber to the home through Sonic. But
Wow. Well, I don't live on the west.
yeah, I know. Well, I mean, I'm
Wrong side of town.
I'm on the
Wrong
east
side of the fiber.
Petaluma. I don't
Yeah.
have access to that. I've just signed a contract with the devil again. I'm going back to Comcast. Because
your
the
heart.
speeds that I actually get through Sonic, my 3 or 4 year experiment with Sonic, because I wanted to do the right thing.
Right.
It's just time and time again, just running up into barriers of the fact that because it's not fiber to the home, it's fiber to the node, and it's delivered via AT&T DSL. It's like, okay, so I'm happy to be with Sonic, but it really, it kind of sucks at times, and I'm tired of running into that. So I've signed a contract with the devil again.
Oh man.
Yeah, unfortunately. But anyway.
But I just didn't know if this platform would stick. If someone like me would try it out and say, that's okay, I'll pass. It just didn't seem like it was going to give me a reason to stick around. And now they're not even marketing.
Yeah, not
the
really seeing
platform.
A lot of marketing.
I mean, I
around
know
it.
they have a marketing department at Google, right?
No.
Well, I would imagine so.
No, there's
They
like
don't need to.
every team has a person, and everyone hates the marketing people. Kevin says he moved from the paid plan to the free plan so he can play the games that he bought, but he doesn't. Yeah.
And
So-
that's not.
And Kevin loves Google.
Yes, I mean, and 1080p might just be enough for a lot of gamers, right? But that's not good for Google. Like Google wants you to find a lot of value so that you're paying them on a regular basis. Perfect world.
Yeah, don't know.
Yeah, and I think the thought or the fear that Google might shut this down, that's not an unfounded fear, right? Like I could totally see the future of a year and a half, 2 years from now. Actually, we learned a lot of really good lessons, and I'm sure we'll fold this technology into something coming up in the future.
Heard that before too.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we did hear that with like Inbox, and
Yeah,
they killed it, but now they're rolling the Inbox features into
I
Gmail.
was
So
going to say, so some of the features are coming.
maybe. So
supposedly.
there's hope. In other words, don't get into Stadia just yet.
I mean, I don't know that you really can unless you have a 1,000 edition right now. That's part of the problem.